Good morning, everybody. I hope you can see me and hear me right. I am very thankful, first of all, to CFO Engage to give me this opportunity to occupy these 10-15 minutes at the beginning of this very interesting event. I will try to make sure that I wear my both hats, so my previous hat as a CFO and also how I see the finance function and the CFO function from my new role in Adecco India. So I put together 3 or 4 slides that would guide us through this discussion, and maybe we have 5-10 minutes at the end where I will welcome any question you might have. I would like just to start and have a thought together about transformation, digital transformation. Digital transformation, as I see it, is not anymore, and now for many years, just a vision of one leader, a vision of a CEO, of a board, of a leadership team. It has become a necessity. The consumer and clients are changing their patterns, their buying behaviors, almost at the speed of light. I am also a consumer when I don't have a response from an app or from a buying experience that is not fulfilling. I will think twice before rebuying that service. So we need to be able to digitally transform and offer an experience to consumers, clients that is seamlessly instantaneous. If we start from this, finance has no exception. Any part within the organization has an interest, and the must is to transform together with the business. So if we start from this, I have put together three directions through which it is important to look at and to think through in order to build an agile and performing team structure within finance. One is, of course, transformation of finance function. As we said, it is essential, but it is very important to start from business. It is not uncommon to see change plans within functions and within, of course, also the finance function, where we start from an inside-out view of how we should be transforming. Now, I would strongly advocate to reverse this. Start from business, start by understanding your clients, and make sure that you translate in the finance function what are the objectives and the strategies of the business or the product. This is extremely important, and it can guide a successful transformation or not. As I always say, the finance function should be and needs to be a co-driver of the business. Business is not only driven by business or by a CEO. No, we are in a collaborative environment, and finance is maybe the best equipped function to co-drive the business with the CEO and with the leadership team together. No, I always say one of the major aspects of finance is to understand the business, but also to make sure that we define an agile highway within which the business moves. Of course, when we are driving on a highway, I can speed the more I see that the highway is very well defined. So in order for business to go as fast as possible, finance has an opportunity to define the highways through risk, through internal audit, but also through agility and responsiveness to clients. And that way, the collaboration business finance gets perfect. And then this is also one of my mantras: responsiveness, speed, sense of urgency. In order to be able to focus the function towards value-adding activities, so strategic planning, co-driving, performance management, finance needs to be responding in real time. I always make an example. When the consumer decides in real time, the function needs to respond in real time because the business needs to respond in real time. So these are the 3 aspects that I think are critical for any finance function to be able to become and be a modern function and let's say a direction through which the transformation can be thought through. If I move to the next slide, I put together some thoughts and some questions for us to that I hope are thought-provoking in order to be able to develop an agile function. Do you really know what the business need? Do we know what the business need? What are the strategic objectives of each product, of each business? Does the finance function knows it? Is the CFO always on top of this? This is critical. Do you have enough speed of response with solution and advice? When you have enough speed and you understand the business, your function is by definition an agile function. Are you agile enough to change organization tools and respond to changing environment? This is actually a prerequisite of any function that supports the business to be able to change very quickly with the changing demands of clients that are brought in the organization by the business. Are we capable of doing this? Do you feel accountable for the performance of a product of a business? When you are in a business review, do you feel a challenger to the business, or do you feel a person who owns the performance that is in discussion in that room? My point is that you should own it. The moment you understand the business, you have speed, and you have changed and adapted the organization, the finance organization, to support the business, you're owning the performance of that product, of that service. At that point, collaboration with the business becomes optimal, and the organization performance increases dramatically. And then it's also one of my mantra: are you exposed enough? Do we meet enough clients? Are we exposed enough to all sorts of different parts of the client's organization? This is another one of the prerequisites for finance to be able to understand the business and understand the clients. With these 4 or 5 points, a function is becoming more and more agile and is able to transform itself from outside in. If we think about optimizing performance, the 3 points I want to discuss with you. One is the fact that the co-driving part of the business. So you need to be able to co-drive together with the CEO, because the CEO needs bold and fact-based advice in order to be able to guide the business properly. So the finance function, the CFO, needs to own the data and own the insights. So we move from reports to dashboards owning the performance. The second point is performance cycle is extremely important, especially in a world that is going extremely fast. When feedback of consumer and clients is instantaneous, we need to be able to have an increased frequency of performance cycle. This is owned, in my view, from the finance function. It's not a monthly affair anymore. It's not a weekly affair. It's becoming a daily affair to steer the business. And in order to govern this, the CFO has an incredible role to play. The CFO can drive the right urgency and can create a framework around which the business is able to track performance, and plans are able to be created and executed. And then, of course, this is something that you don't need me to come here and tell you, but we need to become, the finance function needs to become a data-driven function. At times we forget internally and we provide data outside, but the finance itself is to become as data-driven as possible. In order to be able to consult the CEO and consult the business and be the best buddy of the business, you need to be able to predict trends. We need to move away from talking about the past, which is normally what the financial data tells you. It's something that is already happening in the past. You start co-driving the moment you move towards influencing behaviors. To influence behaviors, you need to look at operational data. This is extremely important for CFOs to be able to own that data and those insights. And of course, are we prepared to have those insights at the speed and the frequency that supports an increased frequency of the performance cycle? If we move, of course, towards technologies, if we need data on real time, of course, we cannot do it manually. There's a lot of technologies. I don't have to explain here how many technologies it's almost overwhelming, the amount of technology that comes into the possibilities of implementation in a company, including finance. No, my first point would be, of course, embrace technology. I know at times finance function tend to be a bit resistant to change. We need to make sure that we embrace technology. And my favorite two technologies among all the technologies we have available today is RPA and OCR. Why this? Because of course there's many more to be used, and this depends on the maturity level of your finance function. But if you're still trying to move the finance function from finance operation towards supporting the business, these two technologies are critical to be understood very well, to be invested on, in order to be able to reduce the amount of cost and time you spend on the operational part of finance, to be able to invest much more on the part of finance that supports the business. Last 2 points are, one, invest in the right tools, of course, but we always have to remember that the tool doesn't do the job. To create a dashboard, luckily, we still need humans. And since dashboards are useful and not report in order to help the business, we still need to have the people and to invest in the right tool. There is a tendency at times to invest in many tools and with the thought that the tool will do the job for you. Please don't go into that mindset. And then, of course, this is also something I'm constantly doing: bulldoze resistance. We said a moment ago that the finance function, since it's at times repetitive, especially the operational part of it, needs to be bulldozed in terms of wanting to change and ability to change at the speed required. In order to grab a prominent seat in the leadership team, finance needs to be able to bulldoze resistance within and be a model to bulldoze resistance outside of the finance function. Well, why do we want to bulldoze resistance in a company? Well, we said it at the beginning. There is no choice anymore. We need to go at the speed of light, and we need to be able to transform continuously the organization. So there is a role to be played within the C-suite that encourage every part of the organization in this journey and create a culture of change. Yeah. And the final of the 4 points is one that is, of course, very close to my heart, because it's about people. As you know, Adecco is in the people business. And as you know, any transformation, any performing an agile function depends on the quality of the people you have. Of course, we need to automate, and we need to be able to support fast. But who is going to automate and who's going to create the insights is extremely important. So I have 3 points here. Of course, I have more, but if I can summarize, one is, do we have the right mix? The current right mix is not CAs and MBAs, as you probably know. Do you have enough data scientists? Do you have enough people specialized in extracting insights from tera and terabytes of data? And do you have storytellers, or do you have people that just give you a dashboard? Are we capable of storytelling through the data? These are extremely important skills that at times they are not understood or taken into account, and we still see a lot of finance functions that are full of CAs only. Of course, you need to have your CAs in your MBAs, but data scientists, analysts, and storytellers, please think it through to have a mix that is much more balanced and looking forward and not only backward. Yeah. And then, of course, organize the function properly. As we said a moment ago, my advice is divest as much as possible in the operation, your accounts payable, your accounts receivable. Of course, there is hygiene and it needs to work extremely well. But the technology is there now for a while to be able to automate this. And automation brings also controls with it, automated controls. So the efforts of reconciliations, the efforts of all the time spent in, let's say, unproductive finance can be reduced and can be taken care from an RPA. Yeah? And then, of course, my mantra at times is also, get business people into finance. Try to make sure that the movement of people in the two direction is always happening. A business person in an FP&A makes wonders, because it will understand exactly what, and it will bring the outside world into the function, into the company. The conclusion slides I have is a couple of words for CFO. Please don't take them. So take them as a point of thought. Yeah. So one is, please get rid of the introversion and upskill yourself for impact. At times, as finance people, we tend to be a bit too much in our rooms, a bit too much confined in our function in our company. I know that those are the comfort zones, but we need to be able to get out there and try to bring the client in to understand what the business, and in order to make sure that you have impact, you need to upskill your capabilities of presenting information, on extracting insight, on persuading the business in doing the right thing. Extremely important. Spend plenty of time in front of clients and consumer. As I said, if you don't understand the business, you're lost. And if you are lost, the company will suffer. If a CFO and the finance function is not performing, not understanding the business, I bet the company has difficulties in becoming more and more profitable. And then, of course, upskill your ability to interview scientists and non-finance talent. Interviewing a finance person is very different on how you interview. And of course, afterward, you manage a data scientist or a developer within the finance function. So this is extremely important to be doing now. If you hire and manage a data scientist, you need to know how to evaluate them. And of course, the last point is, remember that finance, as any other function, is a support function, which means it's a cost in the company. But a finance function that adds value, I can assure you, is an investment from any CEO, at least for myself. A value-adding function is a function that helps you take the right decision. So that is an investment, is not a cost. Yeah. So these were my points around to, let's say, kickstart this wonderful event. I hope this is useful, and I would open up to any question any of the audience has for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. That was a very insightful presentation. I appreciate your time. Now, Marco, you stressed upon the fact that RPA is going to disrupt lives in a very big way. Could you identify the top 3 skills which a CEO would look for in a future CFO? That's part 1 of the question. Part 2 of the question is, how should the next generation of finance leaders better equip themselves with skills that are sustainable in the future? So So those 2 questions. And just one more time, I would want to remind all the delegates that there is an ask button on your screen. If you click on the ask button, you need to enter your email address and your name, I guess, and then you'd be able to post your question, which I can read out to Marco. So Marco, why don't you go ahead and address these 2 questions around cognitive intelligence and skills?
Yeah, top skills of CFO, of course, I talk for what I've seen, around the world, and for what I need. It's, I would say one of the first one is the ability to drive, which means, it can be summarized into a bit of a project management capability. I'm not talking about, to become really a project manager, or to become someone who is capable of a project manager, a program of different projects, but someone who is capable to drive in order to be able to build that highway we were discussing. So project management is extremely important. Another one is to have enhanced skill, social skill, so EQ. We look, for example, at Adecco and my leadership team, and we look for finance, but also for all the function, their ability to have urgency and their ability to persuade and empathy towards others. I think this is extremely important to have for the CFO, especially because we are not talking about numbers only. We're talking about persuading. We're talking about feeling empathy for the business and for the clients. So this is extremely important. And then, a hard skill one is, which is not easy to find, is being able to move from, data to insights, and how you represent those insights to of course, to the CEO, but also to all the organization. So the visualization capability, it's something that is in high demand, and it's something that it seems easy, but it's not widely found. Yeah. And then the second question was?
The second question was around how should the next generation of finance leaders prepare themselves? What kind of skills? So you've spoken about social skills, you've spoken about EQ, you've spoken about how the next generation or the current generation should interpret data to gain insights. But in India and a lot of countries like India, we still have, although it's evolving, the education system is changing, but in order to deal with the demands of the future, what do you think are the three most important things that the younger generation of finance professionals should focus on?
Yeah, well, I say one is it's extremely easy. It's nothing new, and we see it with every fresher, every young person we hire is the ability to code. So coding is becoming, almost like writing, the ability of writing. So coding is definitely something that no matter where you are, especially in finance, and there are languages you don't have to know how to build an app, but you need to know how to customize probably your tool or your capability of responding very quickly. So coding is something that is extremely important. And probably finance, if we start looking forward instead of backward, of course, the basic CA is very much needed, but a CA with a capability of statistical analysis is something that is extremely important, especially now when you talk about machine learning, for example. What is it if not an advanced way of starting from a regression analysis? So this is extremely important. So move away only from what you know in terms of finance and your depreciation, your asset and liabilities, and move towards capabilities that create that enable you to forecast the future and to interpret insights. And then, of course, you need to be able to code your own tool. These are extremely important. We see more and more requests along this way. And if I think also internally for us, for Adecco, these are skills that are in high demand and not easy to find still.
Thank you, Marco. I think we probably have time for just one more question. So I'll put this straight across to you. It may be a little controversial, but then this is a CFO gathering. So I'm going to anyways go ahead and ask you this question. In the future, Marco, do you see IT report into the CFO? And if so, do you reckon this is the natural progression? It makes sense for a CIO to report into a CFO as opposed to traditionally the chief operating officer?
Yes. It's a big controversial, but I like this question because they are very relevant, and it's extremely important to have the right focus and the right reporting line. So I don't know which hat should I have. If my previous CFO hat, I would tell you yes, he needs to report to CFO, and now I would tell you no, he needs to report to CEO. But with the, if I go back to being serious, I think it's I see working it well on average more if it reports to the CFO. So CFO has a structure, or should have a mindset that is structured in a way to drive focus and drive structure to the IT function. And if the CFO is capable enough to understand the business, spends enough time, outside with clients, should be able to much better and much quicker focus the IT business towards, again, it's like finance, reduce the amount of time spent in the infrastructure part and increase the amount that now is called digital, but I still see it in as a CIO responsibility. Increase that part that permits all the company, first of all, to have the insights in real time, and then to be able to provide solution in real time. So I would say CFO, I see it working properly. In my organization, it reports to me, but it's I think that if we want to add a CEO that is very much outward looking, very much being able to be on the ground together with clients and consumers, IT is better reporting to CFO.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. I truly appreciate your time today. I know you're not in India. I think you're in the Netherlands. Yes. So I'm sure there's a certain time difference as well. Thank you so much, Marco. It was a pleasure interacting with you.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure mine. Thanks a lot, and good luck for this wonderful event.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good day.